We now move on to our third session, having tackled the critical areas of food security and health. Now we move on to the third session, which is entitled Educating the Brighter Filipino, when we will tackle this critical issue. Our distinguished speaker, may I introduce him, has served more than 2 decades in public service, 9 years as a congressman representing the province of Aurora, and 11 years as a senator. Education has always been close to his heart. As a legislator, he authored 340 laws, many of which advance the educational system in the Philippines. These include free kindergarten, free college education, the Anti-Bullying Act, the Ladderized Education Act, the Open Learning and Distance Education Act, the Student Fare Discount Act, and the establishment of the Second Congressional Commission on Education, among many others. He completed his studies at Xavier School, the London School of Economics, the University of the Philippines College of Law, and Harvard Law School. In July of this year, he was appointed by President Ferdinand Bongbong R. Marcos Jr. to lead the Department of Education. Ladies and gentlemen, Education Secretary Sonny Angara.
Thank you. Please, let's take our seats. Thank you for that warm welcome. Thank you for the introduction, Quintin. To President of FINEX, Mr. Augusto Bengzon, to the Liaison Director, Ma'am Mignon Ramos, and Co-Chair, Maricar Reyes, to FINEX members, my panelists, President Gigi Jimenez, UP, Sir Gigi Montinola, Dr. Ray Vea, and to Risa, who conveyed the invitation to me, to Sec Shell Habito also, a colleague in EDCOM, very wise voice. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. It's a pleasure to be here before you, and I congratulate FINEX for putting together such an interesting set of topics and fantastic lineup also of panelists and speakers. I would have wanted to listen to all of them, but tama si Dr. Shell na a lot of our problems have roots in poor nutrition, and we have a feeding program in DepEd from kinder to grade 6, starting at 5 years old. But you know, that statistic that 90% of the brain is formed by the age of 5 is quite telling, you know. And I think maybe DepEd and DSWD and local governments can have a dialogue on how to improve some of our programs for early child care and development. I think that's quite a weak link in the system right now. Anyway, yeah, I've been a legislator for 2 decades. It is a new hat for me. I'm discovering that implementation is a little more difficult than policy making. So, yeah, we authored the EDCOM resolution. That's why Dr. Shell and many experts here are looking at all aspects of our educational system: basic education, tertiary education, technical and vocational education. So we were looking under hood. We lifted the hood of the car, we examined the system, and we looked at what was broken, what needed fixing. And a few months later, I'm now the repairman looking under the hood. And every day, my team, some of them are here, Asek Silet, Asek Veloso are here. We tinker with the possibilities and problems of the basic education sector. And first of all, we have to remind ourselves also of the President's marching orders to us. Number one, we should create a sustainable system that responds to our learners. Secondly, we should not leave any child behind. We must support the teachers who are raising them up. If there are any teachers here, happy Teachers' Day. Teachers' Day was yesterday. But many LGUs, many cities are having their Teachers' Day celebrations today and over the weekend. So my mom was a teacher for 20 years. I think Gigi also has a family of teachers. Gigi, Dr. Shell is also a teacher. So happy Teachers' Day, sir. And third, of course, we should embrace digitalization as one of the equalizers and a possible leapfrogging strategy for our times, given the numerous resource gaps that we face in the educational system. So first, a little bit about sustainability. There are lofty goals to aspire for in our system. We want graduates excited to learn. We hope to face our private partners with the assurance that our products are employable. We envision a system where learners become global citizens. And what does it mean to sustain that system? In DepEd, we always bring ourselves back to the basics. A system is only as sustainable as its fundamentals. And unfortunately for us, the fundamentals need a lot of fixing. So EdCom 2 called it a learning crisis. 9 out of 10 grade 4 students struggling to read simple text, outpaced by our ASEAN neighbors in numeracy, an understanding of basic learning concepts that is way below their expected level. And of course, you've all heard and read about the PISA results. We were last in 2018, and we were second to the last in 2022. Thank you to Cambodia. Yeah. So bottom, laggard, poor, we accept those labels with humility and responsibility. Our performance in the past 2 global assessments has given us pause, and definitely it is a path, but the nice thing is that it has kind of galvanized, in a way, our country. We refuse to accept these results. We believe that we are capable of much better. And all of this learning has to happen, number one, in a safe and conducive environment. Climate change has made us the most disaster-prone country in the world. Some say the new generation of students perhaps is less hardy and more prone to, mental health issues. So social media is said to be one of the culprits. So there are a lot of things that need improvement. Some are within the control of DepEd, some are not. One thing within our control and should be improved is the shortage of classrooms. That's more than 150,000. Electricity, of our 47 or 46,000 public schools, 2,000 still do not have electricity. And they say 39,000 need upgrades to be able to avail of computing technology, artificial intelligence, all of these digital advances which require greater power. So it's obvious that what is present and pressing for us is to bolster our basics. Some of that's on the screen before you. But don't get us wrong, we're also thinking about the future. We're devolving, we're decentralizing, so that our field counterparts can make better decisions. The DepEd, by the way, has 1.05 million employees. Yeah. So if any of you are giving CEO lessons, please give me a call. So we're on double time to sign agreements and channel private partners towards maximum value. We have advocated for the creation of a cabinet cluster for education, and the president has been very kind to hear us out and realizes that many solutions in education needs a cross-cutting intergovernmental approach. So we're taking it one day at a time, literally. We have PISA Wednesdays, when our senior officials plan and prepare for the PISA exam, which is in early March next year. And for literacy and numeracy, we brought in curriculum experts to review and revise our literacy and numeracy policies. And Gigi over here gave me a sheet. He might want to discuss it later about SHS, senior high school, which, as you know, we added 2 years to the curriculum in 2012, and we graduated our first set of senior high school graduates in 2016. And the feedback on that has not been great, meaning the curriculum is overcrowded, as Gigi points out. We require 22 subjects for the last 2 years of high school. Most countries require 4 to 8, actually. And they also put a premium on learner choice, meaning you can choose your subjects. You don't have to focus on science, because you're at that age where you're still finding your way and deciding what you would like to do for the rest of your life. But we made very rigid paths for our learners, and we cluttered the curriculum. So we'll really, for next year, I think we'll see maybe it's just 6 to 8 subjects, core subjects: math, science, English, communication skills, life skills or soft skills, as they like to call them, a little bit of financial literacy, and a lot more work immersion and industry connections. The training of our senior high school students in grades 11 and 12 is around 80 to 300 hours, and we're told that nowadays you need at least 640 hours. So with the decongested curriculum, we'll be able to to meet industry needs and meet the President's instruction to make our graduates more employable. I think we'll be getting there with a decongested curriculum. So now let me talk a little bit about diversity, where our incremental progress must include the last and the least in a nation of 7,600 islands. Some of our learners have the double burden of experiencing a learning crisis while also being in the minority. A working education system should have room for different abilities, different options, and contexts. We need to get better at responding to the needs of our differently abled learners. City governments are leading the way in building safe spaces. For the next fiscal year, we've proposed 843 million pesos for the Special Needs Education Program. This will fund the construction of specialized centers and the hiring of screening personnel in the farthest and furthest towns of our country. We have to provide flexible options for the 7.9 million learners outside of formal schooling. And I found out during our meeting with the National Youth Commission today that around 10.7 million Filipinos are considered out-of-school youth between the ages of 15 to 30. Yeah, so we need to improve our alternative learning system to reach out to these people. We're only reaching around 8% of the total learners at the moment. And most of the 634 million pesos that we proposed for the ALS system will be downloaded to the field offices to strengthen their capacity to really reach out and look for those who have potential to go back to the education system. We cannot change the geography of isolation, but we can bring them closer through learning. So we have our stories of school children trekking through mountains and crossing rivers to remind us that the miles we have to go. This is why we have proposed a historic high of 10 billion pesos to finally build the last mile schools next year. We are working with Congress to ensure that there is an accessible school for their constituents. Of course, at the heart of all of this is our teachers. Some of them serve 2 to 3 shifts a day. They are overloaded with additional tasks. Thus, the President's instruction to have more administrative officers as well as less administrative tasks so that teachers can concentrate on their main job, which is teaching. Also want to ensure that there can be opportunities for promotion, that great teachers are rewarded for their efforts. Currently, Teacher 1 receives around 28,000 pesos. If he gets promoted to Teacher 2 and Teacher 3, in the span of 15 years, his salary will increase by 4,000 to 5,000 pesos. I'm sure no one in this room will tell us that that is an attractive compensation program. So what the President has instructed us to create a better career progression path that is better compensated, where teachers are promoted based on merit. And this also explains why many of our teachers are pirated to become English teachers in Cambodia or in Bangkok or in Europe or in the US even, where, of course, the compensation is probably 3, 4, 5 times what they receive here in the Philippines. So yes, we are working on policies that will give them more time, more resources, and more money in their pockets. Now, a few words about digitalization. We believe that those we cannot reach physically, we can digitally. I know this is a controversial subject. We had no choice during the pandemic, but even to this day, there are those who doubt the efficacy of hybrid or online or blended learning. But for us, it's not really a choice, it's a necessity, because we have schools where the students don't do just single shifts, some do double shifts, some do triple shifts, and in practice, what that means is some of the students will stay home for 2 to 3 days a week, and the teacher will just give them a sheet and then ask them, did you read it? Give them an exam. And of course, it's a less than optimal situation. There's no interaction with the teacher. There is no real-time feedback mechanism between the teacher and the student. So hopefully we can develop something resembling the classroom of the future. The classroom of the future, I think, is still in person, but you have tools like educational software. You have EdTech, where kids can take quizzes on their iPads or their laptops or their smart device. And as we've seen in our partnership with Khan Academy, they're using Khan software, the biggest education or EdTech provider in the world. The analytics provides the result in a matter of seconds. It just shows, oh, you scored higher this week than the previous week, and you're scoring higher than maybe 60% of your class. So ganon. That really saves time for the teacher. Saves her the time of analysis. You just punch in the numbers. In less than a minute, the results come out. So that's the classroom of the future. But unfortunately, we are still in the transition to the future. And we've been in the transition to the future for the last few decades. So until we build those classrooms, we have no choice. So we're trying to work on a situation where maybe there's a teacher teaching in a classroom somewhere, and her students may be at home, but there's still that real world interaction with the pupils. So that's something we're working on. And if we look at our schools, only 60% of our schools are connected. So there's still some work to do. And some of those connections are just a single or two computers in the principal's office, not really a computer lab. So these are the things we need to unlock as a department. We have to ensure timely delivery of computers and connectivity. We need to deploy over 45,000 carts of laptops to schools, and more than 18,000 schools still do not have access to the internet. So decentralization is a key also to digitalization. Every leadership meeting, I ask what can be downloaded to the field offices: textbooks, computers, internet subscriptions. So the less we have at the central office, the more they probably have, and the faster they will get it on the ground. And this comes with increased productivity, but also, hopefully, with more accountability. So we're seeing glimmers of progress when the field is empowered by these tools. EdTech has clearly resulted in greater engagement on the part of the students. You see less absences. Yung estudyante nga mismo ang excited pumasok at inaantay. Yung iba naman gusto mag-overtime, so may overlapping. So these are very encouraging signs. We've seen that with the Khan schools. We have a partnership with I Am the Code, and that's a lady, Mariam, there, where she's giving us a platform for coding for free. And this hopefully will encourage new ways of teaching, learning, and data gathering. And of course, there's a repeated story that I give in the speeches about our poor PISA performance, because that exam is given on computers. And for one or a few students, it was the first time for them to ever hold a computer, to ever hold a mouse in their hand. So you can just imagine the panic of that student when he was taking the exam. It's not an easy exam to begin with. So for us, that's more a cautionary tale than a heartwarming story, and a reminder of our enormous responsibility to unlock their digital potential. So in closing, I hope this gives you just a glimpse of our road ahead. It's only been 10 to 11 weeks for us, so we're still navigating the field, so to speak. We have received a humbling mandate, and the President himself has encouraged us by giving us so much support, and you in the private sector have also been very supportive. This week, I was with the IT BPO sector. They've donated over 1,000 computers, and with several thousand more to come. So if there are any of you from that sector, thank you very much. We realize the results of our reforms will not be felt immediately. Unlike repairing roads, repairing an education system is a slow, painstaking task. As its chief repairman, I speak on behalf of my department that we are ready to have our hands greased and stained, and we enjoin you to pick up whatever tools you can find to help us fix a brighter Filipino future. Maraming salamat, and thank you for inviting.
Thank you very much, Secretary Angara, for your leadership and commitment in strengthening the fundamentals towards a more responsive, inclusive, modern, and competitive educational sector for all. Now, I'm pleased to share that our panelists are among the most battle-tested leaders in the field of education and human resource development, and we have three of them. I'd like to briefly introduce them. We have Attorney Angelo Jimenez, the President of the University of the Philippines. Dr. Reynaldo Vea, Chairman and CEO of iPeople Incorporated. and Mr. Aurelio Gigi Montanolo III, the Vice Chairman of the Philippine Business for Education. May I call on Attorney Angelo Jimenez to give his remarks. Yes. May I now call on Attorney Jimenez for his opening remarks.
Maayong hapon. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Thank you very much, Phoenix, for inviting me here. I am very much honored, especially to be seated along these very distinguished panels in front of a very distinguished crowd. Before I start, I'd like to have a disclaimer. I am actually a very optimistic person. But what I have to say could be very provocative. If we don't invest in education now, as in now, the Philippines as a national project, the idea of a Filipino nation cannot survive this century. Yesterday, I had a private briefing with officers of the World Bank, and they told me about aging. They said that the developed world right now are not aging, they're aged. And many of the developing countries, our peers today, including Thailand, will age before they become rich. And the biggest source now of fertility would be among the poorest people in sub-Saharan Africa. Nations don't last forever, including ours. That is the lesson of history. And they gave us the ideal ratio of one productive citizen versus retired citizens. They used the American ratio of 2.5 productive people supporting the retirees, to be very exact. And the reason the United States can do that after more than 200 years of existence is that they have a very liberal immigration policy. The Philippines, from 1993, I think, our fertility rate is 4.1. In 2022 or 2021, I think, it has gone down replacement level at 1.9. But here's the good news. We still have a population bulge that some demographers say could last 30 years more. That is the deadline. The other one is, if our, as Secretary Sani mentioned here earlier, if our 10-year-old, 9 out of 10 cannot read, and if we are second to the last in reading comprehension, the last in reading comprehension in 2018, according to the PISA survey by the OECD, and second to the last in math and sciences. And today, 2022, the latest, we are still behind, in ASEAN at least, because Cambodia was included in the survey. This does not bode well for the survival of the Filipino national project. If you look at the lessons of history, the idea of the Filipino nation cannot long endure under this, because we will be producing populations of illiterate in a world that is increasingly more complex, technologically, even intellectually, even philosophically. That is the challenge today. And this is why we are trying to campaign right now to take care of the education sector as a matter of overarching selfish interest. It involves you and I. That's one thing. The other thing right now, in the University of the Philippines, I don't think I see a lot of UP graduates here today. As you very well know, we were founded in 1908, and right now, we have about, under the form of a federal system, of which I'm the president, 8 universities and 1 autonomous college. And we're building a 10th one, which is the Archipelagic and Oceanic University as well. It's still being hammered as we speak today because of the difficult challenges of creating a new one, which is virtual. But we're about 10, and we have produced over 300 graduates. just look at our university, and this is a basis for the context for what I'm going to say today. For over 116 years, we have produced 13 of the 17 presidents of this country, 15 of the 25 Senate presidents, about 14 of the 26 or so speakers of the House, about 16 of the 29 or so Chief Justices of the Supreme Court. And I look at you today, and I count among you many in the roster of captains of industry, thought leaders in business. No other university in this country has this kind of dominant influence in national life. Now, look at where we are today. And I've been saying this to UP. It's a very wry humor. But we are looking at ourselves today. For the first time in Philippines, for over 100 years, we've been saying honor and excellence. This year, we changed the motto. Honor and excellence in the service of the Filipino country, nation. We envision a truly, unabashedly, and unequivocally, we are a public service university. We changed our vision. Our vision now is to be engaged in the formation of good citizens and leaders. Leader at mga mabubuting mamamayan. Engage in the business of knowledge co-creation. Not meaning kabit may alam, but everyone has the ability to engage with each other. Towards in building a just, equitable, and prosperous society. Kung titingnan po natin ang mga survey ngayon, hindi naman talaga poor country ng Pilipinas. It's upper middle, some say middle na nga. The problem with this country is equity. And so we are addressing this very same theme. Pag sinabi natin good citizens means you're accountable to your people. 20% of the budget of higher education goes to one university in this country. That's UP. Mabuting mamamayan. Simple lang po. The other one is co-creation, knowledge co-creation. The key idea here, and I keep telling the university, is that we have to develop a sense of humility because after over 116 years, our job is not done. I wanted to send this message so much that I took my oath last year as the 22nd president of UP in a little hamlet at the foot of Mount Mayapay in Butuan City, the place where I was born. I took my oath before my tribe, the Manobo Bagusan Valley. My name is Dato Mancalagan. I am a Manobo. I wanted that, not because I feel that I am not being able to express myself either in writing or verbally, but because my ability to explain our mission, I felt, is far less than the very image I wanted to project. I needed that optics. And so today, we are engaged in, we have developed at least 10 flagship programs, but I'll just explain 3 of them today. First is academic excellence. The University of the Philippines has 45,000 undergrad and 16 or 18,000 graduate students. We have 200 undergraduate programs and about 400 graduate programs, from gravitational physics to nursing to Filipino language to Philippine studies. We have an entire range. It has the widest depth in the country today. And we are spread all over the country. But we are focusing right now on pedagogy. When I took over as the University of the Philippines president, I asked one big question. What is the future of learning in the digital age? Today, after almost 2 years in the job, I changed that question, made it bigger. What is the future? Oh, no. What is education in the digital age? And the reason for this is that I see and I benchmark the whole world, and the university is no longer has the monopoly of teaching and learning. I noticed that each one of you here has a smartphone. Every smartphone, at least iPhone 14, kung meron kayo, has a 5 nanomillimeter microchip there. It has 5 layers of silicon layer. Every layer has 5 billion microchips embedded in it. 5 layers, 25 billion. Today, the human species, Homo sapiens sapien, is tech supported. You can Google anything you want to learn from there, and you can find it. You can calculate unimaginably large numbers. You can do that. In other words, we are technologically enhanced cognitively. And with one press of the button, you can have Starbucks or any food through Grab Food you want. It has increased exponentially our ability to perform work. We are tech supported. So it reminds me of an interview I heard from Elon Musk. He said, today, the human being is a cybernetic organism. And all of your organizations today are mere cybernetic collectives. This is the revolutionary challenge we face in higher education, or at least I face, and I'm trying to communicate to the university. Question is, how much learning do we want? How do we imagine learning? You see, the university itself is a product of the late medieval age. Say, the University of Bologna, or the University of Marrakesh even. It was traditional. You put students there, and you view them as empty jars waiting to be filled. Today, our UP students are not looking for jobs. They're creating their own jobs. I'll tell you a story. There's this brilliant student who took up computer science in the College of Computer Science in Los Baños. After 2 years, he dropped out. He went to a BPO, and he was such a curious guy who spent a lot of time in his games, and he realized that the system in that BPO was so inefficient, he tried to devise a system that saved this BPO millions of pesos in terms of operational cost. His talent was discovered. He was sent to the US for further training. He came back with a white knight, and he's doing his own business in the world. You see, the traditional way of filling an empty jar might not fit the current culture created by the digital age. We have students today whose mind and turn of mind do not fit the traditional system of teacher-student, exams, test. They are so creative that they can make their way in the world because they're naturally curious. They're natural engineers. This is some of the challenge. The other thing is that I spoke to a graduate teacher. He said, Pres, I am very frustrated with our students today. Why? These are graduate students of UP. Why don't you read, I tell them. The reading material is already there. The links are already there. You have smartphones, laptops. You can read them. And you know what the student answered? They said, Sir, this is the digital age. The only thing we need to do now is to find where we can find the answer to any question at a time when we needed to answer it. Now, if you do not sense the revolutionary potential of that statement, I want you to start thinking about it right now. Because there was a time when we have to struggle and conquer knowledge to be on our own. Nabutan pa namin ni Sexana yon sa College of Law. The Socratic method, puyatan, case studies. And by the time you graduate in your undergrad, your mind has become used to the rigor of the scientific process. That each one of our students who goes out of our doors, our gates, think differently. They're disciplined thinkers, especially if they become masters and PhD students. There is a kind of mental discipline that influences everything we thought, or we think, how we think, because of the process of pressure, struggle, and conquest of knowledge to make it our own. Students today don't have to conquer knowledge. Knowledge go to them. And so this is the challenge that I'm trying to make as an opening statement. The world today is, they say, VUCA world. It's a military concept, but it's moving very fast, dizzyingly fast. And we feel that the population today will be parsed. Those people with the DNA that cannot cope with fast, dizzying rates of change will disappear from the face of the earth. And those with the mental stability and resilience to absorb change will survive. And since the letter T is being raised right now, I would like to do that as my opening statement. And I'd be very happy to go into brass tacks and drill down as we go on with the panel discussions.
Thank you, Attorney Jimenez, for a categorical imperative. More themes along the same discussion points. We'd like to call on Dr. Ronaldo Vea, Chairman and CEO of iPeople Incorporated.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I heard Jeff Majoncada, CEO of Coursera, talk about the future of work, the future of learning. And one thing I learned from him is that majority of CEOs wouldn't hire graduates anymore who don't have AI skills. And that given a choice between an experienced fellow who has no AI skills, somebody fresh out of school who has AI skills, they'll still choose the guy who has the AI skills, fresh out of school. And so I asked our people, what are we doing by way of teaching AI skills? In fact, I asked him to use the Coursera Course Builder to use AI to develop courses about AI skills. Actually, they had done previous work. So I said, how did it go? Was it any better than what you had figured out? And he said, the Coursera Course Builder, or AI, was able to add something more to what they had figured out. We thought that we had digital transformation of an educational institution, all figured out until in October 2023, ChatGPT came out, and we had to redraw everything. We had digital transformation for research, for instruction, and for running the school. But when you look at the AI applications now, actually most of them are based on the large language model, and I would think that there should be something more than that. So if you have large language models in applications, for example, the student and the faculty member can use it as an assistant. And will there be something more than that? Or it may be something more amazing. I saw a demonstration of a podcast, an interview between a person and another person, and the topic was about cybersecurity in a city. And they were talking, one asking the interviewer asking the interviewee. It turns out they were both, it was AI with voice, with voice. So it's amazing. We have our ears close to the ground about what is happening out there, and it's very fast, Things are happening very quickly, but we just look for use cases. How do we use AI in an education institution? But for us, as a technology school, we want to look at something more. For example, I'll get a little bit more technical, The equation that describes the flow of water or any fluid around surfaces is based on an equation, and it was one of the mathematical challenges of the 20th century. No analytical solution. Nobody has been able to crack that problem. What we have are numerical solutions. We can approximate how the water will flow around objects and so. And then when you apply AI, actually, to the solutions that have been done before and work on it, make it go through a machine learning process, you can actually get a solution that is very, very close to what will actually happen in the real world. And those are the solutions we're looking for in a technology school like ours. So I guess that's my opening statement. That would be it. It's a whole new world out there. Just since late last year, everything has changed. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vea. Now we have Mr. Aurelio Gigi Montanolo III, Vice Chairman of the Philippine Business for Education.
distinguished FINEX members, I thought that I would just talk about something. You have a topic, sustainability, diversity, and digitalization. We've left Ray to talk on the most difficult one, which is the digitalization, and Gigil to talk about the state of education. So my focus will just be on the term sustainability. I have just put in, I just have 2 slides just to give a little bit of background. The first was how K-12 started, or sorry, rather K-11 and 12 started. We were 2 years behind the rest of the world. There was a very well-meaning decision to add the 2 years in a senior high school. And the clear reason was better college preparation. Unfortunately, the reality is not good. First, when it started out, there is a very congested curriculum. There's mandated 30 subjects, 80 hours per subject, 6 hours a day. And if you think about that, that's for a 18 to 20-year-old student. So the workload is almost like a working adult if you have to also add lunchtime and commute time. Some parents are complaining, what's the income earning value of sending somebody to senior high school? Does it really add to their ability to earn more when they finally get out of college? And then, as I mentioned, the students are overworked. And then there are some people, which has been referred to, teachers and the educational system is unhappy that they cannot pass the PISA tests, and they are they're basically learning something or trying to learn something that other people would have learned in the early ages. So what would I call as the desired outcomes? The first one, obviously, is that they do better in their PISA tests. No? The second one is I like to think that skills training is more important than a college degree or a high school degree. And third, a new idea is that instead of just college, you have the option to get a job after senior high school. So that's the premise. I now have 2 practical suggestions, and I start by saying that learning is really repetition and practice. And the first option, given the heavy workload, is you just reallocate the class time from 80 hours to 60 hours and use the extra hours for skills development. Focus on the big 3, which are English, math, and science, add communication and digitalization. If you want to throw in items like financial literacy and climate change, so be it. So the point is to reduce the number of hours for face-to-face learning to 60 per subject, and then use the extra 20 hours for project-based learning, online tutorials, or homework. So in other words, it's still the same amount, but you're using 25% of it for something else. And the benefits will be skills training. I think it has been mentioned, a hybrid teaching method. I think that's very helpful because, as you say, we have to be practical. Face-to-face is supposedly better, but it's not so easy to do that, no? And for all of us who know, the transport time and the commute expenses can be quite severe. The second one is more radical, which is to decongest the mandated curriculum. Again, focus on the big 3, English, math, and science, plus communications and digitalization. Reduce the mandated curriculum of 30 subjects. There are 15 core. There are 8 professional, which are really related to strands like STEM, etc. And there are 7 adaptive. If you reduce it by 20% or 6 subjects, you get down to roughly 24 subjects, which coincidentally, I was also telling the secretary that when K-12 was originally envisioned, the original suggestion was about 23 to 24 subjects. But what happened, again for very well-meaning reasons, other people just kept on asking for subjects to be added, and so they were added. No? So with the reduced class hours, switch it to electives, skills training, or work immersion. The benefit will once again be skills development, not traditional content, which, as other people have said, you can easily Google. No? So anyway, I thought that I would just focus on one idea, which hopefully the Secretary, the DepEd, will look into. I understand that they are actually looking into, and they're thinking of the option B, which is to reduce the mandated curriculum, which is the best for us because for PBED, Philippine Business for Education, that is also the preferred suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you, Gigi, and indeed our esteemed panelists for not only the pointed assessments, but also the pragmatic solutions that you're offering that we're going to be fleshing out today, ably moderated in this panel by the Vice Chair of the Phoenix Foundation Junior Phoenix Committee, Mr. John Balse. Gentlemen.
Hello. Yeah. All right. So good afternoon, everyone. So thank you very much for our very distinguished panelists for their opening statements. You know, I was preparing for this session. I read the EDCOM 2 Year 1 report, all 400 pages of it, and it's, yeah. And you know, the title, yeah, it was a difficult read, not because you know it was academically written. It was actually it was easy to read, but it was difficult because of so many issues that were flagged in that report. In fact, the title itself was heavy. They titled it "Miseducation: The Failed System of Philippine Education." Very sombering, but a very honest assessment of where we are at. With respect to the educational sector. And in fact, that's how they describe the education sector here in the Philippines. It's not a system, they say. There is fragmentation in our educational system. All right, but okay, so I'd like to change up a bit the format of our session for this afternoon. I'd like to ask the audience if they have any questions, because we're really running out of time. Maybe you have any questions that we can, yeah? Yes, this is a very rich topic actually, so I'd like to, sorry? All right. Okay, yes.
Thank you so much, and this is such a privilege. I so agree. This is a question and a comment. I so agree with Mr. Montanola's suggestion. Basic, if you look at our elders in the old education, they were focused on math, reading, and science. I am a mother. I saw my sons swamped with so many subjects, okay? And I had to move my son from a traditional school to a progressive school, and I saw a 180-degree turn. An education system that gives the children confidence in themselves, not swamped with so many subjects. But I think maybe my question is probably, there's two other criteria that I think we should also add, which is creativity, wherein we are lagging in the standards, and critical thinking. Because our children don't think anymore. They just receive and receive. So I so agree with adding more time for critical thinking and creativity and sports and skills, and not just memorizing, studying, homework, which takes us hours until 10 o'clock in the evening, etc., etc. But I have seen the difference in a progress. I grew up in a traditional setup. We thrived in a traditional setup. But the progressive system, wherein there's more activity, not copying and memorizing and rote, is so good in education. So I hope, Mr. Secretary, there's a thrust towards that. Thank you.
Yes, certainly. Thank you for that comment, and I agree with you. Many of the lesson plans in schools today look like they were made before without any knowledge of Google, no? So a lot of it's just facts, and so we're really moving towards critical analysis and improving the foundational skills, because yun talaga ang findings natin, that many of those who are in the lower grade levels. That's why we have this enhanced reading programs for they call it the Key Stage 1, that's kinder to grade 3. Really, the focus is really reading, numeracy and literacy, basically. Reading, math, science. So talagang yun ang kulang natin. And that's why we don't do well in PISA exams, because that's a test of your critical, your analytical skills. No? So, and then regarding what Gigi said, I'm sorry, I preempted you handed me a sheet before, so I didn't realize that was what you were going to say, so I reacted to it already. But yeah, it just so happens that we're on the same page, and we're really decongesting the curriculum, because we have 4 tracks in senior high school. Technical vocational, or TVL. Then you have the academic track for those going to college. Then you have sports and arts, which is 0.6% of the population. So we're looking to fold that into the academic track. And those, as Gigi said, they're required to take 22 subjects and another 8 elective subjects. So 30 subjects in 2 years. It results in very little mastery. So we're really going to prune that down and put, secondly, is put an element of choice in it. So a lot of electives for and we're not going to make the track so rigid, meaning your business, your accountancy, you can only do that. That means you can't cross-enroll in humanities or in STEM. So we're really going to make it very flexible and put a premium on learner choice and impose more rigor, more mastery of the important skills. And of course, the increased work immersion also is very important. The increase to about 640 hours. See, Risa was there when we signed with the president, we signed the memorandum with the P Corp, meaning the private sector, that's the private sector vehicle put up to represent various industries and to train our senior high school graduates, because nakikita na talaga na nagkukulang tayo sa not just the academic skills, but even the soft skills, the behavioral skills, the willingness to work, the positive attitude towards work, and problem-solving capacities, things like that. No?
Thank you so much, Secretary. I'd like to acknowledge our liaison director,
Hello. So my question is for everyone, for all of your institutions and for the DepEd certainly. With every effort that you make for every student, how much of that goes to attention to the teachers? I think we do need to pay attention to the teachers, and so I wonder, how much of the attention that we pay to the students goes to the teacher? How much of the resources are used for improving the teaching?
Maybe we can,
I'm not really sure, but the budget of DepEd is 70% is teacher salaries. So there's very little capex actually. So that's why we have these resource gaps, because maybe we don't have enough money for capex, and we're also very slow to implement. And admittedly, DepEd is not the most efficient organization. We have to learn to be more efficient. Give the books on time, print the books. There have been graduates who have not had books, a full set of books. Can you imagine that? How do you expect them to learn when you've not done the basics? So I would say maybe 70 to 75% goes to the teachers, because a significant portion of the budget also goes to training the teachers. Roughly, rough figure.
Attorney Menes.
Yes, if you look at our budget, vis-a-vis our students, we would probably spend about 200,000 per UP students a year. That's higher than the others. The other one is that we have about 18,000 employees, about 6 to 8 would be teachers, about 6 to 8,000 would be teachers, and about 1,100 would be lecturers because we don't have enough plantilla. Our focus really on teachers. But just to complete the question, we're really focusing on pedagogy and training teachers to teach in the new environment. But more important than that, we are also trying to give students more control over the courses they would like to be good at. For example, in the College of Engineering, for example, an engineering subject that you will teach today will become obsolete within 4 years. So there is continuous program and program improvement, and we have to be agile. The key is agile. The problem with agility is that our systems are still analog, and we are now well into the digital age. So the main challenge today is transformative theory or approach to change. It is something that can really drain you, but I'm trying to survive that thing. The other thing is we're looking at, and I was talking to the NUS President Tan Inchet 2 weeks ago, and we're looking at adding majors and minors, majors or majors, so that we can have electrical engineers with minor in arts and culture, or physics major, minor in anthropology. Because we need to create, as you said, very critical mind, because that, I think you really got it right. We need to have resilient and critical minds to survive. The technicality, the technical aspect of it, you can get from Google or anything else. So I spoke to some construction companies, graduates of UP, and they said, you know, what can you say about the students today? Do they know, for example, pile driving in construction? Said, they are so good. Their knowledge today is perfect. The only problem with today's students is this. When they go out into the workplace and they find problem that is not in the book, that is when they start to unravel. So resilience, pag hindi nakita sa libro, so we really have that kind of problem. That's why we want them to have a full 360-degree humanist-based education. Our purpose is to build character, resilience, strength. That's why we're going to arts. I'm providing free music lessons now, guitar lessons, voice lessons in UP, and we are really promoting sports. As a matter of fact, the only time I do not speak about sports, especially in basketball, is when I am the same table with Father Bernie of Lasal and Father Bobby Yap of Ateneo. It's a no topic for us, basketball.
All right, Dr. Vea.
Okay. I don't know how to frame my answer, but maybe from the point of view of our schools, we spend a little bit for secondary education and basic education. We have been running a program called STEM Teach, which is to offer free online STEM teaching to the STEM teachers in the high schools. So far, we have had 3,000 teachers who have enrolled in this program. Hindi masyadong mahal, but it's online, so it can reach a lot of people. And we know the multiplier effect if you work with the teachers, no? On the other hand, we also have another project called, we're calling it 3R. I want to call it 4R because it's just not reading, writing, arithmetic. There's also rhythm, algorithm that must be taught nowadays. But what it is we're trying to match the most essential learning competencies in grade K to 12, no? And there are thousands of them. And then match each one with a 4 to 6 minute video clip, just on that MELC or MELC. And so far we have developed 100. Konti pa lang, no? But we also have a lot of teachers, including those from National Teachers College. So I think we'll be able to reach thousands of snippets, is what we call them, to give for free, to be able to run on the lowest specification of a smartphone. So that is what we're trying to do. So we're also, I don't know if that answers the question, but we're spending a little bit for the students, no? Or the pupils.
Again, I'll try to be practical. I saw two newspaper articles this week on the DepEd. One was on the flexible schedules for teachers. There were 3 options. And the second one was on the 6 hours per day discussion on whether it was enough, too much, and what would they do. Now, what we also know that in an 8-hour day, there's 1 hour for lunch and there's 1 hour for other activities, no, which is normal almost anywhere. So my practical suggestion, if the DepEd considers reducing the total number of face-to-face, mandated subjects from 6 hours a day to 5 hours a day, it frees up 1 hour for both the students and the teachers, and we can call up Ray Vea to use that 1 hour to teach stuff like that. No, but I mean, I'm just saying, but I agree with you. Teaching the teachers is as important as teaching the students, no? And we have to invest in the teacher development.
Yes, maybe in that context, right? Just wanted to ask, because we talk of AI, we talk about digital technologies now. What kind of interventions do we need to give to teachers so that they are ready to actually teach these things to our learners? Maybe Dr. Vea can respond to that.
I think when we ventured out into online education, that was one of our concerns. How do we roll this out? We have about 500 teachers in Mapua. And ang mag-aaral din dyan sa simula, konti lang. We let them enroll in courses and so on. But we had some sort of an academy. And, we just trained every day, every week, the teachers. And after some time, we had everybody familiar with the software. So I guess that's just it. It's how we do it to scale, no? How we do these things to scale. Kasi dapat, I think we should, the tertiary level should also help the basic education sector, no? This is not online, no? But I have another story to tell because I'm semi-retired and I like telling stories, but last month we deployed 500 NSTP students to 3 schools in Manila, 3 schools in Laguna, and 1 school in Davao City, to the kindergarten and to the grade 1 classrooms, because we were told and we believed that the problem of learning can perhaps be solved by helping the teachers in the classroom. Pag nagkakaroon ng reading lesson, no? I don't know if you'll still have catch up, but there in the reading, when they start studying reading. And we were told that this should happen in kindergarten. We verify this from some other sources. Sabi nila, by the time grade 1, it's too late. But we sort of don't believe that. Siguro meron pang matuturuan sa grade 1, ano? But that's where you have to catch these kids when they're in kindergarten, aside from malnutrition issues, no? So we're deploying to the kindergarten. So we'll try to be scientific about it. We have pre and post testing, of course. If you think it works, then we can deploy more NSTP students from our Mapua schools. And if that proves to be okay, we'll deploy more from National Teachers College and University of Nueva Cáceres until we have scale. And I'll talk to the Philippine Association of Colleges and Universities if they'll agree. Then we can have all these members of PACU do, help out in the kindergarten and grade 1 classrooms. Kasi the magnitude of the problem is really daunting. It's overwhelming. And we have to match the scale of the problem. And maybe you can help sometime. If you guys can help sometime, if we think this thing works, right, then we'll need the resources to run it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Nakapagsingit pa ng kwan. Okay.
Yes. Just wanted to ask naman Attorney Jimenez and Mr. Montinola. In JFINEX committee, one of the things that we are always looking out for is making sure that we have students who are job ready. But allow me to push the envelope further, right? Not just job placement, but long-term career sustainability, given what's happening out there? Dr. Vea mentioned earlier that technology is evolving. Last year lang, October last year, we had ChatGPT that basically endangered some jobs, right? How do we make sure that our prospective employees are actually going to be employable for the long run, from your perspective? Yes.
Yes, one thing I observe is that many of the things that we require in terms of academic credits are not really very helpful to our students in the workplace. They have to be work ready. It means it's a set of attitudes, a strength of character and resilience that can handle the unexpected, that can handle the challenges of life. Now, for me, that's education. Education is not putting knowledge in the minds, no, but developing a mind that can help them traverse the challenges of life. That's true education. But in UP, we are promoting lifelong education anytime, anywhere. I said earlier, many of these things they were teaching students would be obsolete because of fast rates of change. So we're doing lifelong. And we are introducing micro-credentials as well. It's going to be very popular. You don't need full degrees. As a matter of fact, I don't think we need full degrees to survive life. We have very good examples of students by their natural creativity and resourcefulness and will and drive, they can succeed in life. But the other one is, one of the main characteristics of technology right now is mobility. And people now might not have enough time already to go to school. So we're capturing them. And sometimes they're already in the field and they need to upgrade their knowledge regularly in order to be promoted. I have very concrete examples of this, but I'll just limit this to those answers. So lifelong, and we have one major initiative. We just launched today the Transformative Ventures in International Transformative Academia. This is offering online courses up to undergraduate, up to master's, up to PhD, and we have produced already through our UP Open University. Right. We are targeting the 10 million stock estimates of Filipinos abroad. The idea is to provide them education, move people, masses of people from lower paying jobs to higher paying jobs. For example, in Dubai, there are 1 million Filipinos. Saudi Arabia, another 1 million Filipinos. Many of them did have college degrees. We want to provide them college degrees or micro-credentials. So move them in big numbers from lower paying jobs to higher paying jobs. And from higher risk jobs to lower risk jobs. The higher, the better paid, the better position, the better safe you are. And we are estimating, I was doing some table napkin calculation. The remittance of OFWs today is about 38 billion. If we can just capture 10 million of the market, 10% of the market, that would be 2, 3, maybe $4 billion more in remittance a year. That's more dollars for your arbitrage bankers here, because they send it abroad. And for what? A program whose cost marginally approaches zero, because this is online. We already have the platform. And so we are promoting, we launched last year our MOOCs, Massive Open Online Courses. Parang Coursera, we have it already. And we have a platform called ODEL, Massive Open E-Distance Learning. These are very important, and we are the leaders in ASEAN today on e-distance learning right now. So this is the future. Knowledge will be portable and upgradable, scalable, and catered to individual needs. And this is the wonder, this is the really the potential of digital education. You don't have to have mass education anymore. You can have very personalized education that can suit your particular aspirations or your immediate job requirements.
Yes. So more focus on the attitude towards continuous learning, right? Mr. Montinola.
Well, the motherhood statement will be continuous education via certification programs. No? As people today, they don't necessarily want a whole degree, but they want knowledge in certain parts. No? Now, let me step back a bit, because we're with Secretary Angara. In the basic ed stage, you want the country to teach a generally standardized curriculum, no? Because in the old days, what they would do, they'd say that you'll take a parang liberal education to get to a certain level. No? So what we're talking about, or what you're talking about, and the only difference there is that certain groups, TESDA, also PBED, they're looking at people who may wish to get jobs right after senior high school. So there is some intervention there because it's either content or I'm always a big believer in skills. Now, when you jump naman to college, it's a different story because you have the college degree. I think less and less people are interested in a liberal arts college degree, and they're just very interested in jobs. But the thing with jobs, as President Gigil has mentioned, the jobs change. So no matter what, if you had a perfect magic wand, you would try to get a extra course or an extra learning, whether it's simply YouTube or whatever, in something that you like. And many times it may change from year to year. No? So sa madaling sabihin, I go back to the original motherhood statement, it's continuous education via certification programs or watching YouTube.
Thank you, Mr. Montinola. We have a question on the floor.
Magandang hapon po sa inyo. Ako po si Menchu Seriña. 3 ho ang apo ko sa Singapore. Okay? And what I've noticed is that based on our discussions, we've talked about senior high school, we've talked about college degrees, we've talked about university. I think we forgot something. Yung mga maliliit na bata, the little ones. And we believe that education starts at home. No? Kami po ang nag-advocate ng financial literacy, no? And in our advocacy, we do it holistically. We involve the family, no? And we talk about education. We always emphasize education, pero we start to maliit pang bata. So we teach them paano ho ba magsisave. So bata pa lang, kasi mahirap ho magturo ng savings pag matanda na. So it would be the same with education. What have we done? Have we engaged the parents to be part of this education? Because parents are the first teachers. No? Mahirap, nakakaawa hong pakinggan pag yun hong mga magulang sasabihin, hindi, bahala na yung eskwelahan sa aking anak. No. Educating the children is a partnership of the parents and the teachers. So I wonder, what are we doing about this? Very basic.
Yeah. Maybe Secretary Ngara can respond to that.
That's a great statement,
Yeah.
and
Thank
I don't
you.
think we're doing enough. Just to put it simply, because I said in my remarks early on in my speech that ECCD is a weakness. It's a weak link in our system. That's the 0 to 5 basically. Anything because we put it's not mandatory, and because it's LGU based. There's no national ECCD center, you know. It depends on the LG. If they're supportive, they'll put a nice daycare center there. But there's very little educational component in the daycare center. And I noticed that countries where where the parents are very supportive, they read to their children at an early age, tend to do better in the long run. So they've built that foundation. So at some point, the DepEd, without hoping not to preempt anything, but we'll probably launch when we go to the schools, we will talk to, to have a reading campaign, basically, as simple as that, no? To have parents read to their kids. But the problem there is you're assuming the parents can also read. So there may be cases where the parents cannot read. So that's the thing. Then maybe we go to Dr. Ray's idea about employing those NSTP volunteers, which has proven to be a successful program in a short amount of time. So, you have to attack a problem from many angles, and so I totally agree that we can do more at the early stages.
May I just say something? I was laughing because I felt guilty about it as a parent. No? I remember reading a book by Lee Iacocca. He said, about their managers in Chrysler, and he said, we have a management program in Chrysler Corporation when we spend millions of dollars to them about things that they ought to have learned from their parents at home. No? So I remember Jokoy the comedian, he was asked to go, summoned by the principal and was asked to help his son with algebra. And Jokoy said, but I'm a comedian. But anyway, it's really a challenge. And to be frank, personally as a parent, I'm a lawyer and I'm really, exhausted by the time. And I think many of us would feel the same. I don't know if how many of you feel the same way, but we really feel guilty about it. And we're hoping that the schools can do a better job as in loco parentis. No? But actually, we do recognize that there has to be a way perhaps. But right now, I have to be frank with you, I have no vision for it. And how can, if you're a working parent, so tired, so stressful, and how to do that, I couldn't answer algebra questions either.
Thank you so much. All right. So maybe because we. Sorry. Okay. All right. So unfortunately we don't have much time, but maybe we can have one more a closing statement from our panelists answering this question: how can the academe and industry work together to ensure that digitization, diversity, and sustainability are integrated into education, while also making sure that students from all backgrounds have equal opportunities to succeed in the future workforce? Maybe a short statement from each of the panelists.
Well, listen to the customer. The customer is either the student, the industry, if they're going to hire someone, or the parent. And then the second part is that the school is the product. So like anything in very simple terms, if you listen to the customer, you talk to them, you collaborate with them, you will be able to do better.
It's not for lack of bodies where industry and academe come together. Sa eskwelahan, you have your visiting committee, sometimes they're called that, where industry people come to the school and talk with the faculty members. There are also organizations, school to individual company. There are organizations that are school to sectoral organization in industry. There are organizations, sectoral organization in academe, like the Association of Schools talking with the Association of Semiconductor Industries or BPO sector. In CHED, there are technical panels where industry and academe come together. So you'll have to ask the question, if it's not for lack of the existence of these bodies, how come we're not able to develop a coherent agenda for industry-academe collaboration? So siguro, well, we just have to solve that problem of organizing everything. It's not for lack of bodies where we come together.
Yeah. For us, digitalization, like ICT, is one area, a platform. It's a technical platform. But we look at it as a world culture. It's a cultural change. We believe that we are now well inside a digital civilization, but we're at the cusp of change right now that's causing so many frustrations and disruptions in the world today. But in the University of the Philippines, we just have to go with the technology part. We already have a program, PhD program on artificial intelligence, and they're asking me for an extra 2.5 billion. It's so bad that Secretary Angara can no longer help us because he's also now fighting for his own budget, but he used to be a very generous champion for UP budget. And he has been really helpful to the university, thank you. And it's one of the reasons why I said earlier that I'm very optimistic now because you have Sec Sani and Sec Kiko Benitez, no? Parang barkada kami ngayon. So there's a sense na gagawa tayo ng paraan, bahala na anong mangyari, no? Kasi we don't want our generation to be accused of having failed, no? So exciting din yun. But we are going to go through it. We want to produce more PhDs in the entire digital field. But we look at digitization as a mindset, as a culture, as a platform, and it is not something of to be or not to be. We just simply have to do whatever it takes. And I believe that we are already moving towards that direction. Medyo mahal nga lang, no? Pero that's our future.
Academe and industry can better collaborate by talking and maybe just supply and demand, telling us where are we failing in educating? And I was with the ITBPO, the IBPAP, 2 days ago, and they said, well, they seem to lack that behavioral attitude, attitude towards work, especially the senior high school graduates. Probably it's a function of age also, being of a relatively young age. But I think kami sa DepEd, we're very open, and we've met with Jollibee. We're coming up with the hotel and restaurant module for senior high school. We signed that industry memorandum with B Corp that covers maybe 30, 40, 50 industries, PCCI, IBPAP, FINEX, all of you are there. So we're taking your lead, and you told us you need more time to train workers. That's why we're going to decongest the senior high school curriculum. We're going to move up to 640 hours of work immersion. So that's beneficial. That's mutually beneficial because you get your talent pool, and you get an early peek at what of people you can hire, and at the same time, kami naman yung estudyante also mas maganda yung posibilidad na ma-hire sa nung kumpanya. So it's a win-win, I think. There are just little questions about who pays for the allowance, does government have the additional budget, blah blah blah. These are some of the details or the wrinkles that we have to iron out. And number two is, I think the Philippine educational system has not maximized the use of data, really. In DepEd, we have so many levels of data. We have student data at the schools, we have data about the teachers, but we're so busy encoding and giving reports, and we spend so little time analyzing data, when that's the name of the game nowadays, is analyzing data, and you have tools to help you analyze data. So I think if we manage to, just those two simple interventions will result in a lot of improvement.
All right. Thank you very much to our panelists. That's a very enriching session. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, gentlemen and panelists, for such a robust discussion. It's such a resonant and burning topic that I know the spillover will happen among the people in the room, especially leaders here who are concerned with the state of education and the gap between industry and academe. Well, if you apply the Pareto optimal rule, I think people in this room are going to help move the needle to solve that problem. And with that, I would like to say thank you again to our gentlemen panelists and ask our president, Toti Bengzon, FINEX Week Committee Officers Mignon Ramos, Kai Reyes, and Rizal Adore to present tokens of appreciation for our panelists. Let's give a round of applause again for our panelists and the Honorable Senator and Secretary Angara.